Welcome to Speak English with me.
Improve your vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation with our engaging lessons.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Speak English with me. I'm Sam.
And I'm Emma. We're so happy you've joined us because today's topic is one that almost every English learner comes across sooner or later.
That's true. Maybe you've watched an American movie where someone says, "I'm going back to my apartment." Then you switch to a British TV show and someone says, "Come over to my flat."
And you pause the video for a second thinking, hold on, are they talking about the same thing?
If you've ever had that moment, don't worry. It happens to almost everyone learning English.
The funny thing is that people sometimes think American English and British English are completely different. They really aren't.
Most of the time, they share the same grammar and the same basic vocabulary. The differences are usually small, but they're interesting, and sometimes they can make conversations pretty funny.
That's why we're not here to decide which one is better.
Because there isn't a winner.
They're simply two different ways of speaking the same language.
Think of two brothers who grew up in different countries. They understand each other perfectly, but every now and then they use a different word for the same thing.
I like that comparison.
Before we begin, if you're enjoying these conversations and want to improve your English naturally, make sure you subscribe to Speak English with me. We bring you real conversations that help you build confidence one episode at a time.
And while you're listening today, see how many of these differences you've heard before. We'd love to know which one surprises you the most.
You know, I once had a conversation that made me realize how many of these differences I didn't know.
I think I know this story.
I was talking to a visitor from England. We'd been chatting for a while when he asked, "So, where's your flat?"
And your brain stopped working for a second?
Completely. I was wondering why he wanted to know whether something was flat. Then he smiled and pointed toward the buildings nearby.
That's when you understood.
I laughed and said, "Oh, you mean my apartment?"
It's such a simple difference, but it can catch you by surprise the first time you hear it.
So let's start there.
Americans usually say apartment.
British speakers usually say flat.
If I say, I live in a small flat near the city center, an American immediately knows what I mean.
And if I say, "I just rented a new apartment," someone in Britain understands me too.
The words are different, but the idea is the same.
That's something worth remembering today. Most of these differences won't stop communication. They're simply another way of saying the same thing.
Here's another one you've probably heard.
Elevator.
Or lift.
Imagine we're standing inside a shopping mall.
You ask, where's the elevator?
And you answer, "The lift is just around the corner."
Same place.
Different word.
If you ever hear a word you don't recognize, don't feel embarrassed.
A helpful phrase is that another word for?
For example, is a lift another word for an elevator?
People usually appreciate your curiosity, and you've learned something new in just a few seconds.
That's one of my favorite parts about learning languages. Every conversation teaches you something.
Our next pair is one that appears in almost every travel video.
Vacation.
Or holiday.
Americans usually say they're going on vacation.
British speakers often say they're going on holiday.
At first, I thought holiday only meant days like Christmas or New Year's Day.
A lot of learners think that.
Then I heard someone say, we're going on holiday in Spain.
That's when it clicked.
I realized they simply meant they were taking a trip.
Context is your best friend. The more English you hear, the easier these meanings become.
Now let's talk about something you see on the road every day.
Truck.
Or lorry.
Americans usually call large road vehicles trucks.
In Britain, many people call them lorries.
I remember watching a British documentary where someone said, "The lorry arrived this morning."
I looked at the screen wondering what kind of vehicle was coming.
And then?
It was just a big truck.
I couldn't help smiling because I'd imagined something completely different.
That's why listening practice is so valuable. The more often you hear these words, the faster they become familiar.
Let's finish today's first group with something delicious.
Cookie.
Or biscuit.
In American English, a cookie is usually sweet.
In British English, people often call that same sweet snack a biscuit.
I once visited a cafe with an American friend in London. She ordered a biscuit because she wanted something sweet.
Let me guess.
The waiter brought warm bread instead.
Her face said everything before she spoke.
We both laughed, and she said, "Well, that wasn't what I expected."
Moments like that can feel confusing, but they're also memorable.
And the best part is that once you've experienced them, you rarely forget them.
That's why learning English isn't only about vocabulary.
It's about understanding people, enjoying different cultures, and feeling confident wherever your conversations take you.
You know what I find interesting? Sometimes two people can be speaking English, understand every sentence, and still pause because of one tiny word.
It reminds me of a friend from the United States who came to London for the first time. We stopped at a small cafe, and he asked, "Can I get some fries with this?"
Let me guess. The server looked a little confused.
For a second, yes. Then she smiled and asked, "Do you mean chips?"
That's one of my favorite differences.
In American English, they're called French fries or simply fries.
In British English, they're usually called chips.
The funny part comes with the next word.
Because if an American asks for chips, they expect something crunchy in a bag.
But in Britain, those are called crisps.
So imagine ordering chips and receiving thick potato fries instead.
Or asking for crisps in America and watching someone wonder what you're talking about.
Food vocabulary can be surprisingly entertaining.
It also teaches you to stay relaxed when something unexpected happens.
That's an important lesson for language learners.
If the food arriving at your table isn't what you expected, don't panic. Just smile and ask, "Could you explain the difference?"
Most people enjoy sharing those little cultural details.
And conversations like that often become the most memorable part of a trip.
Speaking of sweet things, here's another difference that appears everywhere.
Candy.
Or sweets.
If you visit an American store, you'll probably see signs for candy.
Walk into many British shops and you'll hear people asking for sweets.
My little niece once watched an American cartoon and came running to me.
What did she say?
She asked, "Is candy different from sweets?"
That's such a good question.
I told her most of the time they're the same thing. People just use different words.
She looked relieved.
Then she said, "Good, I like both."
That's probably the best answer anyone could give.
Sometimes children remind us not to make language more complicated than it needs to be.
Now, let's stop by a petrol station.
Or should I say a gas station?
There we go.
Americans usually stop at a gas station and buy gas.
British speakers stop at a petrol station and buy petrol.
The first time I heard someone say, "I need petrol," I wondered if they were talking about a special type of fuel.
Then you realized it was the ordinary fuel everyone uses.
One word changed, but the meaning stayed the same.
That's becoming today's theme, isn't it?
It really is.
Here's a useful phrase you can remember.
If you're traveling and you're unsure which word to use, you can simply ask, "What do people usually say here?"
That's a natural question, and it shows you're interested in learning.
People usually appreciate that.
Let's imagine it's Friday evening.
The work week is over.
We both want to relax.
I turn to you and say, "Let's go to the cinema."
An American friend might say, "Great idea. Let's go to the movie theater."
Different words,
Same popcorn.
hopefully with extra butter.
You're making me hungry again.
That's your fault. You started talking about fries earlier.
Fair point.
I enjoy these little differences because they remind us that language grows with culture.
That's true. Words don't appear by accident. They become part of people's everyday lives over many generations.
And that's why learning vocabulary through real conversations is much easier than memorizing long lists.
When a word is connected to a story, your brain holds on to it.
I still remember the first time someone invited me to the cinema. It sounded wonderfully simple, and I never forgot it after that.
I think everyone has moments like that.
Those small discoveries slowly build confidence.
One day, you're translating every sentence in your head.
Then, without realizing it, you're simply listening.
That's one of the most satisfying feelings in language learning.
You suddenly notice you're paying attention to the conversation instead of worrying about every single word.
And when that happens, English starts feeling less like a subject and more like a way of connecting with people.
That's a milestone every learner reaches at their own pace, and it's always worth celebrating.
You know what I love about these conversations? Every small difference teaches us something much bigger than vocabulary.
I agree. They remind us that English belongs to millions of people, and every place adds its own flavor.
Speaking of everyday situations, imagine you're standing in a busy supermarket with a shopping basket.
You're ready to pay, but there are lots of people waiting.
In America, you might hear someone say, "I'm waiting in line."
In Britain, you'll probably hear someone, "I'm standing in the queue."
The first time I heard the word queue, I was reading it instead of hearing it.
Oh, that's a tricky spelling.
I looked at it and thought, how on earth do you pronounce this?
Then someone said it out loud, and I couldn't believe such a long spelling made such a short sound.
English loves surprising us like that.
It certainly does.
If you're traveling to another country and someone says there's a long queue, don't worry. They simply mean there's a long line of people waiting.
And we've all been in one that seemed to move at the speed of a sleepy turtle.
Especially at the airport.
Why is it always the airport?
That's one of life's great mysteries.
Here's another everyday word that changes depending on where you are.
Imagine you're in a restaurant and suddenly need to wash your hands.
In the United States, you might ask, "Where's the restroom?"
In Britain, many people simply ask, "Where's the toilet?"
Some learners think the word toilet sounds too direct because they're used to American English.
But in Britain, it's completely normal.
Context matters again. Neither person is being rude. They're simply using the expression that's common where they live.
That's why it's helpful to stay open-minded instead of assuming one version is more polite than another.
Language isn't only about words. It's also about understanding local habits.
Now let's talk about a subject that starts friendly arguments all over the world.
I know where this is going.
Soccer.
Or football.
If you say soccer in America, everyone knows the sport you're talking about.
In Britain, most people simply call it football.
I once heard two tourists discussing football, and each one imagined a completely different game.
One was thinking about the sport with helmets and touchdowns.
The other was picturing a ball, 2 goals, and 90 minutes of running.
They laughed as soon as they realized the misunderstanding.
That's one of the nicest things about language. Confusion doesn't always have to be embarrassing.
Sometimes it becomes the funniest part of the conversation.
Here's another word you might hear during the colder months.
Sweater.
Or jumper.
If it's getting chilly, an American might say, "I'm going to put on a sweater."
A British friend could say, "I'll grab my jumper."
Same warm piece of clothing.
Different name.
My grandmother always carried an extra sweater when we traveled because she believed someone would eventually get cold.
That's a very grandmother thing to do.
It really is.
Did you ever wear it?
Almost every single time.
She was always prepared.
And she never said, "I told you so."
She didn't need to.
Her smile said everything.
Our last difference for today has caused more than one awkward moment.
That's putting it gently.
Pants.
Or trousers.
In American English, pants are the clothes you wear on your legs.
In British English, trousers usually mean the outer clothing, while the word pants often refers to underwear.
Imagine complimenting someone by saying, "I really like your pants."
Depending on where you are, that sentence could become unexpectedly funny.
You'd probably notice the expression on their face before anyone explained the difference.
Then everyone would laugh together.
And honestly, those little moments are part of learning any language.
Nobody learns perfectly.
Every learner mixes up words now and then.
Even native speakers do.
The important thing is not avoiding mistakes.
It's being willing to smile, learn, and keep talking.
That's how confidence grows.
One conversation at a time.
You know, after talking through all these differences today, one thought keeps coming back to me.
Let me guess. English feels much smaller now than it did at the beginning of the episode.
That's a great way to put it. At first, American English and British English can seem like two separate worlds.
Then you discover there's simply two ways of describing everyday life.
And that's reassuring. Sometimes learners hear an unfamiliar word and immediately think, "I've never studied that. My English isn't good enough."
When in reality, they've simply met another version of a word they already know.
That little change in mindset makes learning much more enjoyable.
It certainly does. Instead of worrying every time you hear something unfamiliar, you become curious.
Curiosity is such an important part of learning a language.
Every new word becomes an invitation instead of a problem.
Let's continue with another difference you'll hear almost every day.
Imagine you've just finished lunch in a city you've never visited.
You throw away your sandwich wrapper and your empty drink cup.
In the United States, someone might ask, "Where's the trash can?"
In Britain, you're much more likely to hear, "Could you put that in the rubbish bin?"
trash.
and rubbish.
The first time I watched a British home makeover show, one of the presenters looked at a pile of broken furniture and said, "Let's get rid of all this rubbish."
Did you understand it straight away?
I guessed from the situation, but I wasn't completely certain until a few minutes later.
That's something listeners should remember. You don't always have to know every word immediately. Sometimes the situation tells you everything you need to know.
And every time you figure out a word from context, you're training your brain to become a stronger listener.
Here's something else that's interesting. In Britain, people sometimes say something is rubbish when they mean it's very bad.
Like watching a football match and saying, "Our team was rubbish today."
Hopefully not your favorite team.
Let's not talk about that. Some memories still hurt.
Fair enough, we'll move to safer ground.
Speaking of ground, let's go for a walk.
Nice transition.
Thank you. Imagine we're exploring a beautiful city on a sunny afternoon.
There are cafes, little bookshops, people walking their dogs, and street musicians playing in the distance.
An American friend says, "Let's stay on the sidewalk."
A British friend says, keep to the pavement.
Same advice.
Different word.
I remember walking through London with a local guide who kept saying pavement. By the end of the afternoon, I had stopped noticing the difference.
That's how language learning often works. The first time feels strange.
The 5th time feels familiar.
And after the 20th time, it simply becomes part of your vocabulary.
That's why regular listening is so powerful. Progress doesn't always arrive in one big moment. It quietly builds day after day.
Now let's imagine you've just bought a brand new phone.
You're excited. You've already taken 10 photos and you're trying to call your family.
In American English, you'll often hear cell phone.
In British English, people usually say mobile phone.
These days, many people shorten both expressions and simply say phone.
That's true, but recognizing both versions helps when you're listening to films, interviews, podcasts, or everyday conversations.
I met someone from Australia a while ago, and during one conversation, we heard all three expressions.
Really?
Yes, one person said cell phone, another person said mobile, and a third person simply said phone. Nobody stopped the conversation because everyone understood each other.
I love examples like that because they show English is flexible.
Communication matters much more than choosing one perfect word.
That's a message worth remembering.
Here's another pair you'll probably hear throughout your life.
Mail.
And post.
In the United States, someone might say, "The mail arrived early this morning."
In Britain, you'll often hear, the post came before breakfast.
Or someone might tell you, "I'll send the documents by post."
If you've only learned American English, that sentence might sound unfamiliar the first time.
But once you connect post with mail, it becomes completely natural.
That's another reason we wanted to record today's episode.
The more versions you recognize, the more comfortable you'll feel speaking with people from different countries.
Let's finish our list with one final situation.
Picture this. We've had a wonderful evening at a small family restaurant.
The food was delicious.
We spent half the meal talking and laughing.
Now everyone is comfortably full and the plates have been cleared away.
An American customer catches the server's attention and says, "Could we have the check, please?"
A British customer asks, could we have the bill, please?
Different words.
Same smile as you leave the restaurant.
I always like examples like this because they're practical. If you travel, you'll probably use one of these expressions sooner than you think.
And if you accidentally use the other one?
Don't worry, people will still understand you.
Before we say goodbye, let's take one last walk through everything we've learned today.
Apartment and flat.
Elevator and lift.
Vacation and holiday.
Truck and lorry.
Cookie and biscuit.
Fries and chips.
Chips and crisps.
Candy and sweets.
Gas and petrol.
Movie theater and cinema.
Line and queue.
Restroom and toilet.
Soccer and football.
Sherber and jumper.
Pants and trousers.
Trash and rubbish.
Sidewalk and pavement.
Cell phone and mobile phone.
Mail and post.
Check and bill. That's 20 everyday differences you'll now recognize much more easily, whether you're watching an American movie, listening to a British podcast, traveling abroad, or chatting with friends online.
And here's something we'd really like you to remember. You don't have to choose one version of English and ignore the other. The more you understand both, the more confident you'll become in real conversations.
Every new word you learn opens another small door. Keep opening those doors, one conversation at a time, and one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come.
We hope today's conversation reminded you that learning English doesn't have to feel stressful. It can be full of interesting discoveries, funny misunderstandings, and moments that make you smile.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. We truly appreciate every listener who joins these conversations, whether it's your first episode or you've been with us for a long time.
Keep listening, keep speaking, stay curious, and never be afraid of making mistakes. Every conversation teaches you something valuable. Until next time, take care of yourself, enjoy your English journey, and we'll see you in the next episode.